Hey guys, good morning. I'm going to go over actually for me, I'm going to go over a very objective thing. What you're seeing here kind of generally is the pros and cons of officer enlisted as far as I experienced it, okay? Backstory for me is I was in grad school at Troy University, and my intention was going to be a SEAL officer. Because at the time, so this is like really about 2002 at the time, in my head, all I'd ever seen really in society from Navy SEAL movies to Navy SEAL books was like Charlie Sheen and everyone they're all officers, like 3 or 4 officers and a master chief. And so like I genuinely thought like, hey, if I want to go do missions and to get to the top, like I'm going to be a Navy SEAL officer, I'm going to do the thing because again, at the time, 2 Medal of Honors at the time were officers, Thorson and Norris. And so it's like, oh, okay, like I'm going to go do that thing that they did in Vietnam, okay? So what I did, I applied for OCS. I took my test in Montgomery, Alabama, and then I had to go down to Panama City to the dive unit down there and do my first PST. I did my ASVAB. They thought I had cheated. I got a perfect on my ASVAB. I got a 99. So they called me back in. They made me take the test again in front of the Lieutenant Day. Got another perfect. Awesome. So in the doing so, they became this weird little like, hey, we want you to do this and do that and to apply for this. I was like, no, I just want to be a SEAL. Just want to be a SEAL. And so as it turns out, like I was only a couple weeks out from starting my class in Pensacola, and I was staying with a friend of mine down in Navarre, Florida, just near there. And something didn't feel right. So a friend of mine at the time, her father is still the dean at Troy, former Marine Corps colonel, her daughter went to the Air Force, went through the Air Force ROTC, and then, so she had been in the Air Force for a minute, and we were friends, and so I thought to call her and go, hey, what was that, what's that like, you know? And she's like, whoa, like, don't decommit to anything. And she's like, if they try to switch you around, like, that's your sign, man, you need to get out of there, like, because they're gonna lock you into a contract, you won't be able to get out of it. Sure as shit, I got a phone call from the lieutenant saying, hey, Mr. Nichols, you did so good on your test, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna ask you if you would go into supply officer. Go to the supply officer route, you'll open up a billet for someone at NSW because your PST was so good. So you just go through supply officer school, and then you can come and go to BUDS. And I was like, that don't sound right. So I said that to my friend, and she's like, that shit don't work that way. So I was like, you gotta get out of there. So I literally went into the office in Panama City, or Pensacola, Florida, to the lieutenant at the time. Again, Lieutenant Day was his name, and I go, hey, I'm out of here, man. Like, unless you can guarantee me a contract to get into NSW and me get a shot, then I'm out of here. And he's like, well, you know, if you leave, you're gonna go get enlisted. I'm like, I don't care, all I wanna do is be a SEAL. So, fast forward, that's what I did, I enlisted. So because I had a conversation and I'm like, okay. And I said, literally, we wrote it down on a board, on a piece of paper. Because also the things that I wanted, he's like, come back and tell me what you want. My dad and mom at the time were kind of a failing health. So in my head, it's like, I want to take care of my mom and dad. So one of the things I had on my list was like, can my parents become a dependent to me? Can they be dependent to me like they have, you know? But the Navy isn't gonna let me insure my parents, you know, failing health. So that was my thing, but I had on the list, I was like, these are what I wanna do. I was like, I wanna someday be a point man, and I wanna be the navigation lead. I wanna be a sniper, I wanna be a breacher, I wanna be a jump master, I wanna do all the skydiving, I wanna do all these sort of things, static line jump master, free fall jump master. Now, this is where my list actually ended, but I'm gonna extend that list into, okay, I wanna have the capability and learn how to call in ordnance, whether it's a helicopter or fixed wing, JTAC, right? I clearly was like, well, shoot, I need to know comms, right? I need to have a good basic or really good understanding of comms, which you do in sniper. You get a really, really in-depth part of comms. So the first couple months is comms and photos and pictures, okay? And so also, like, I really wanted to, like, kind of like, I love physiology, and I wanted to learn, like, trauma medicine, okay? Right? Like in the future, as my career progressed, I really, really liked interrogating people or tactical questioning, right? And so also language, like there's a language option on the enlisted side we definitely get. And then the field craft black side, right? So what I'm looking at is a list of if you enlist in the Navy, this is your options for jobs, right? You don't have any of these options if you're an officer. Officers don't go to nav lead point man navigations courses, right? Officers don't go to sniper school. They don't go to breacher. They don't go to jump masters at all, right? They don't JTAC. They don't go to comm school. They don't go to the medic courses, long, short, and they don't do the trauma medicine courses either. They certainly don't do that. There is no officer involvement in that. Why? Because plausible deniability. We do not tell them what goes on. Why? Because they're going to take the heat for anything that's good or bad. And that's the other side from the officer. Like, I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want the fallout, good or bad. And we'll talk about that in a minute, right? And through experience. And then the black side, okay? So what we're also looking at, here's all the skills that are available to you as an enlisted. There's more, but these are the primary. And here's the thing too, is each one of these is a school, right? Sniper school, breacher school, jump master courses. They're schools. They're months long, some of them. Sniper school's 4 months long. And so what we're seeing is like, okay, every one of the teachers for all of these courses, they're all enlisted teachers. There's no officers that even teach this. No officers attend, no officers that teach. So like, okay, well, how am I ever going to learn the skills as an officer if I don't go to the courses and then I don't do the jobs, right? So like that was like a real scratch of the head. Like, well, wait, like Lieutenant Day, why would anyone be an officer in the SEAL communities if they don't get to do any of the stuff that like we all want to do? Like, well, what do they do? And he's like, scratch our head a little bit. And now in hindsight, I know what they do, right? Yes, they go through a lot of the similar sort of unit level training, like as groups we go and do as we're getting ready to deploy. But they don't go to these courses. They just, like the jumping that the officers do is only in the basic course of BUDS. Like if they don't jump outside of that, they don't really jump too much. I don't know a single officer outside of SEAL Team 6 that had any free fall jumping experience. I never saw that in the white side teams. Like most of the enlisted guys don't even have gold wings because we don't jump on the white side teams, right? So that was my frustration. I was like, geez, like the SEAL officers go through all the same garbage we do through BUDS and SQT, this craziness. They go through all of that. The officers are expected to perform at a higher numerical value in that. And then it ends at BUDS. Like the end of BUDS, your officers in your BUDS class, they go and do admin stuff. They work admin. They have a title, officer, sir, lieutenant, captain. They have a title, you bet. They get paid more. They do, kind of, right? But their work is admin work, right? PowerPoints, like briefing, like they spend so much time briefing other units and officers enlisted of our capability. That's their primary job is the officers. Our SEAL officers clearly understand what we kind of do, right? The enlisted guys. Their job is to get us jobs. Their job is to deploy with us, meet with the ground force commander, Army, Marine Corps, whoever it is, and go, sir, we're in country, and this is what we bring to the fight. Here's our breachers, snipers, here's our guys. The officers are very much the advocate for us as enlisted because the officers don't go on target necessarily. At SEAL Team 5, we had officers go on target with us, but they were always in the back of the chain. They never, ever cleared. Never saw an officer clear a room in all my years of combat. At SEAL Team 6, the officers don't even go in the clearances. They typically, for us, they stayed way off target in a helicopter far away, or they landed off in a far, far distance with a protection unit. And they never, once we cleared the target was secure. Sometimes we bring an officer in if we had to do some SSE. It took a long time. But really, typically speaking, the officers didn't go on target. They didn't clear. In my 11 years in the Navy, I never once, like I don't know how many hundreds of missions I've done real world. I did sustained combat for really better part of almost 9 years. Double-digit combat deployments, and in all of those missions, in every single one of them, not one time did I clear a room with an officer. Not one time did I do any sort of strategic movement that was taught by an officer. Everything I learned on CQB, right? Everything I learned on CQB was from enlisted, because our officers don't practice the CQB with us. Like when we're doing house runs at Dev Group, we're doing run after run after run, the officers aren't there with us. They don't do the runs. They're doing their job, whatever their job is, in some sort of video teleconference or some meeting. And I think that that's really weird because they're asked to go through all the same thing as the enlisted guys. They're held at a higher standard, and then when they graduate SQT, they're never really allowed to do any of the stuff. And it's so weird because why are we missing that opportunity for our officers? Like, they're extremely intelligent, extremely capable human beings. Why are we as a community not putting them into the fold like the Marine Corps does? Like the Marine Corps officers, like your captains at MARSOC and your captains at at recon, your captains, especially even in the infantry, your Marine Corps captains are fucking serious, man. Like, if I could just shit can all the Navy SEAL officers and I would just bring in a bunch of Marine Corps officers and put them through green team and they would be stellar, right? Because they get all of the tactical and the leadership stuff that our SEAL officers don't get. And that's also why I didn't want to be an officer, because all the really awesome tactical leadership courses that the Marine Corps does, that the Army Rangers get to do, the officers on that side, they get a ton of real world, like leadership tactical courses, and our SEAL officers don't get any of that. So, you know, for me, I'm really, really thankful that I spent my time as enlisted, because I can't imagine being in a war, multiple wars like I was, and just watching us do it. Like that was the frustrating thing for me on the back end, was we did 100% of the work on target, enlisted did, 100%. And watching your officer, your troop commander, take credit for all of that you guys did, and they get awarded for it, bronze stars. For the bronze stars that I saw officers get is fucking makes me want to throw up, you know? So that's been my experience. That was my experience for 11 years. And I'm so glad that I enlisted, because if I had been an officer, I wouldn't have been able to do all of this. I wouldn't have done any of it. And quite frankly, what else is a SEAL? If a SEAL doesn't do these things, what are you? Right, that would be hard. That would have been really hard for me to have that trident on my chest, never done any of this, and then take credit for everything that the guys did. I can't do that. So maybe that helps you guys make a decision, because it was not a hard decision for me at all. So if you want to be a real Navy SEAL with real Navy SEAL skills, my opinion is there's only one place that you're going to get the skills, and that is on the enlisted side. So have a good day, and hopefully this was helpful.